Thank you, President. My name is Gloria Nyiramgisha, Rotary Club of Kololo. I'm a guest, yet to be a member fully. It's good to be part of this fellowship. I look forward to learn a lot.
Thank you for coming, Gloria. So when you were speaking, you were breaking. We didn't get to hear your club. I'd request that we still go ahead and type in the chat our club. Can we have another Rotarian online? Another Rotarian? We need 2 more introductions and then we continue. Okay, if we do not have anyone there, please make it a point to type in that chat, to put your clubs so that we can be able to recognize your club and for thanking you for attending with us. We have one final introduction from Sharon, who was just arrived here physically. I'm going to give him this opportunity before we go on to
Okay. Thank you, CM Rotarians and Friends of Rotary from the Rotary Club of Bunga. I'm here to enjoy this fellowship and also to pass on some Rotary information. Thank you. I think that will come at an opportune time in this fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rotarian Luima, for joining us today. So we are now going, we have guests with us today. Now I'm going to ask the sergeant, to request the sergeant, all the guests, I'm the one who actually knows them. So I'm going to request the sergeant to, or maybe I can introduce them. So Martin, please stand up. So for those present here, that is Martin Cassidier. He has been visiting our club for the past, I think, 2 months now. So he was here complaining that he's no longer a guest since he comes every time. But we know at the opportune time, he will become part of us fully. Yeah, Martin is our communication specialist. And yeah, Martin is interested in Rotary and is interested in joining our club. Thank you for coming, Martin. Gerard, please stand up. So for those present here, that is Gerald. I am sorry, I know Gerard. Gerard is a medical practitioner. I think later he'll tell us more in which field of medicine he's in, and he's also very interested in joining our club. This is the 3rd time he has actually joined us, but it's the 1st time I've been around when he has joined us. So thank you for continuing to come, Gerard. Feel at Bunga. So we are going into the Rotary information. I'll first give the Rotary information I have before I invite the rest of the people. So Rotary Club of Kabalagala has the Kabalagala Pancake Festival happening on October 30th. The fee is 25,000. It has transport, it has a drink, it has pancakes, there's going to be a lot of fun. So, you know, the president, CMP Shoki, is a very close president to our club, and I encourage us to please pay the money, and we go and represent Bunga in big numbers. Secondly, our zone, that's Central Zone 1, has prepared a training for our clubs in the zone. This training is happening on Sunday, 24th October. That is this Sunday, this coming Sunday. The training starts at 11 a.m. The training is going to help us in good report writing, creating sustainable projects, So the training is mainly for the board, but they asked me to request club members who are interested in joining to also join that training, because it will be very informative and it will help all of us. So I urge us, I'll be sharing the links in the group. I urge us to please participate and attend that training. Then I continue to remind all of us, those of us who haven't yet paid our TRF, that we please pay it to the TRF chair, plus the Rotarians present as well. Please let us, our TRF chair is Jen Peace. I'm sure most of us, those here, she's around, those online, I'm sure those online know who she is. Please reach out to her and let's pay this money. Then, yes, that's it. Do we have any Rotary information in the house?
Thank you, President. Once again, as I told you, my name is Paul Lima. I'm the membership director from the Rotary Club of Bunga. Now that we have the Rotary Club of Bunga, no longer information, we are proud of the growth. We are desirous of bringing another baby in the form of Rotaract Club, and that is going to be the Rotaract of Avance University. Avance University. It is in Nabweru. We understand institutions of higher learning are opening the coming month, that is November. So partly the reason as to why I'm here is to involve you, that you have been in this formation process. You know the A to Z of what it takes now to be chartered as a Rotaract Club. So as we wait for the university to open, because we need them in physical attendance, we need to mentor them, and we shall be preparing a team from the Rotary Club of Bunga together with a team from Rotary Club Bunga to go there and just thump that baby club information. The resolution is already there. We only need the will now to put it in motion. So this is the first announcement of that sort. But with time, we shall come back here to invite you to be part of the Rotary Club of Bunga, such that we get another baby the other side of town. That is in Avance University. So that is the information I wanted to pass on today. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Rotarian Lima. Willing to help in information before, and you are helped a lot by Mother Club and by other neighboring clubs. So we are willing to step in when you need us. Do we have any more Rotary information online? If you have any Rotary information, you can put up your hand and I give you the chance to pass it along. Oh, before someone comes in, so the Raleigh and District 914, the blood donation drive we did was the first phase. So there's going to be a second phase of blood donation. And it's happening on 18th of December. So the clubs are still in discussions of where it's going to be. It's not going to be in Bunga this time around. So they're thinking of either putting it in Kabalagala or Kansanga. Please remember that on that very day, Rotaract Club of Bunga has our end of year, I don't know how to call it, our end of year getaway, where we're going to also have our Santa. So please be prepared for that. Do we have any Rotary information? Yes, Rotarian Emmanuel Sabiti, please unmute and speak.
Thank you, President. President, the Rotary Club of Bunga will be having a home hospitality. I hope you all know what a home hospitality is, but if some don't know, home hospitality is where Rotarians are hosted by a member of the club. Yes, either at the residence of that person or at a convenient place where the member has invited us to go and have a family get together. So it is basically a social event. So shall be having one on the 30th of this month, October. That will be a Saturday. It will take place at Highway Forest Park on Entebbe Road. That is Bwebaja. So we are inviting you to join us. But of course, we normally contribute a fee to help the host in organizing for the day. So the amount is only 30,000. Those who are willing to join us can pay the 30,000 to our treasurer, Betty Changa. You all know her. And you can also bring friends if you are willing to pay for the friends. Yes, we don't limit the number, but as long as you're willing to pay for the friend, that is okay. President too, the Raila the Raila event that is going to take place. We had a deadline that had passed, but luckily enough, it was postponed to the 29th of this month. So we, of course, as Mother Club, we are going to do our part in sponsoring some of your members, but it should not stop with the Mother Club only sponsoring you. Those who can sponsor themselves, please let them register and pay for Raila, because it should take as many people as possible. Raila is a very, very good place for learning leadership skills and networking as well. So it will add a lot of value. I encourage them to, those who can pay for themselves, attend, as Mother Club is also working towards the sponsorship that we shall let you know by the end of next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarian Emmanuel. About the home hospitality, thank you for informing us. I am sure members present have heard, and we shall communicate to the rest who are not here for attendance. Also about Raila, it had skipped my mind. Thank you for communicating about it. Do you have any more Rotary information? CMP Geoffrey, I saw like you had unmuted. Do you have Rotary information? Okay, please go ahead and type in the chat your names and which clubs you're coming from, so that we can be able to recognize you at the end of the fellowship. At this point, we have a guest today, and that guest, we have a guest speaker. She's called Anne Kazungu Okwera, and I'm going to invite Grace to give us a profile of the guest speaker.
Good evening, everyone. Our guest speaker today is Anne Kazungu Okwera. She's happily married with 2 children, lives in London, United Kingdom. Anne is a human resource consultant. She is also a businesswoman founder of Coach Consultancy and Investments Limited, co-founder and director at Light Empowerment Foundation, has a degree in biology and chemistry from Makerere University, has a master's degree in management studies, HR option from Uganda Management Institute, and has a 20 years working experience at both operational and senior management level in corporate and non-governmental organizations. She has competencies in human resource management, leadership and organizational development, change management, project management, and capacity building. I can also confidently say she is a sister to Rotarian Emma, Sabiti Club Admin RC, Bunga, our mother club. Thank you.
Hello.
Yes, Anne, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening, members. I'm very happy to be here. And I'm very pleased that I was invited to join this very, very important meeting of Rotaract Club Bunga. I must say that it's not my first time to be part of Rotary. Because of Emmanuel, Rotarian Emmanuel's efforts, he has persistently invited me now and then to really be part of Rotary. I wasn't able to do that because of many other engagements, but when I can, I do try to make sure that I participate. I see Emmanuel's hand is up. I don't know if I'm talking at the right moment or I should come in later. Sorry.
Oh, you're actually talking at the right moment. I think you forgot to put it down.
Okay.
Rotarian Emmanuel, please put down your hands. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I'm actually a Ugandan, all the way from Nebi in West Nile. And I only came to join my family in the UK last year in February 2020. At the beginning of lockdown. So I came to the UK at a very negative time when, nobody was moving. So it took me a very long time to get networks. But then I realized I had my networks in Uganda. So I leveraged on those networks and made sure that I continued engaging family and groups. There are so many groups that I've created on chat group where we engage on different matters. We share employment related information, job adverts and business information. So all that kept us going through lockdown. That's just background information, but the previous speaker did a very good job in giving you a very long background about myself. In terms of my career, before I came to the UK, I was working with Oxfam in Uganda as the Human Resource and Development OD manager. I also worked with BRAC at some point as a human resources manager. BRAC is also one of the big international organizations. Before that, I was with Uganda Telecom, also as a human resources manager. Slightly before that, I worked with MTN as a training officer for about 7 years, and many other experiences in customer operations. So in terms of corporate governance and in terms of working with NGO experience, I think I can share a lot in terms of my experiences. I'm very happy to hear that, to know what Rotary Club is doing in terms of empowering the youth. It's very, you're doing a very great job. And my encouragement to the youth is to be available for empowerment opportunities, just like this one, and put in practice what you learn. Knowledge is only useful if it is put in practice. Yeah, so those are some. I know not everybody, in terms of the presentation I'm going to make, not everyone is targeting to be employed. So many maybe want to be in self-employment. We all have different destinies. That's also a good route to take if you're into self-employment, like my brother Emma, that is also very good. You need to build your networks. You really need to be an outgoing person. And I think Emma is a very good example of someone who is very outgoing, who is very good at networking. Invite him for events, he'll try to be there. And through that, he gets to market himself, he gets to get business contacts. And in terms of business, one thing I wanted to tell the youth is you need to be trustworthy. You need to have your values, accountability, you're accountable to yourself, you're accountable to your customers. So when customers give you maybe orders, you need to be committed, follow up with them. You need to have.
Hello, everyone.
Sorry.
This is
Yes, so you need to have the good customer service skills if you go into the self-employment route. Now, if you decide to go into employment, and this is where my presentation is going to cover, I know I have very little time, so I'll try to be as fast as possible. I hope I'll be able to share the screen shortly, and I know somebody there has my presentation as well. So I'll just do a screen share. So my presentation is addressing the youth who want to go into employment. It's also good if you gain skills in employment, even if you later on want to be self-employed. The world of employers gives you certain skills in terms of communication skills, networking skills, project management skills, customer service skills, all the skills that you can later on apply into your own business if you decide to go that route. So for those who decide to go into this, into the route, at the beginning of my presentation, you can see there is a picture of Ken there. Probably you can see a panel of people sitting there. They are ready to interview you if you have decided to apply for a job. Interview panels can be very intimidating, but they're not all intimidating. All they want to see is who are you? Who is this person that has applied for the job? So whenever you meet a panel, however much intimidating they may look, they are human beings. That's what should always come at the back of your mind. They are human beings. And within the panel, there'll always be what we call the hiring manager. So the hiring manager is the department manager where you have applied. So in a way, that will be your supervisor, direct supervisor. So that person will always be part of the panel. Then you'll always have 2 or 3 other people who are from neutral. In any good organization, you should have a combination of neutrality. So you have the person you're going to report to, but you also have someone from a neutral department. Of course, you'll also have human resources manager in that panel. So always know that there's someone there who has an eye for other detail. So don't get intimidated. So that's one thing I wanted to say at the start. And even before you go for an interview, there are things which I thought are very necessary. And as a human resource manager, I used to notice them from the applications that used to be, I used to receive and go through. Let's start with the CV, your curriculum vitae. That is your summary. It's a summary about yourself, your biodata, your contact information, your academic background, which is of course very key, and your employment history, as well as your competencies. What are those skills that you're bringing on the table? And in some parts of the world, they don't really ask for referees until the point when you have passed the interview, then they will ask you for referees. So referees nowadays, they may form part of your CV, but not necessarily. I've seen CVs where there's people put their very nice, beautiful photos. You see a very nice smiling lady there. To be honest, those photos are not necessary because they may bias the recruiter. So assuming the recruiter is maybe biased against dark people and you've put your photo, they'll just look at it and say, no, this one will pass. Or maybe you didn't smile so well. Oh, this one doesn't look like she smiles very well. So they bias the recruiter. So you don't include your photograph into your CV. So I wanted to share a quick sample of a good layout of a CV, I do not know if you'll be able to see it from there, but if the layout of the CV is very important, because the first thing I look at when I see the CV is how is the layout. Now you may find that the layout in some people's cases is very haphazard. You know, it's not well organized. So start with a template. There are so many templates on the internet now. So if you can get a template that gives you a very good structured layout of your CV. So there's this one I've shared. You can see at the top, I don't know if you can see it, but at the top you have your personal statements. I removed a bit of information about the owner of the CV just for confidentiality purposes, but always include your name, your contact number, and your email address at the top of the CV so that the recruiter knows who to contact when they need to call you. So that is what is important, your name, email, and your phone contacts. So there you now have a summary of your personal statements. That is, who are you? Just something quick and sharp and eye-catching. Focus more on your skills and your competencies. And this should be aligned to the job you're applying for. So if you're applying for a communications officer role, then your competencies that you want to bring out are in relation to communication. Oh, I have very excellent communication skills. I have good report writing skills. So look at the job you're applying for, and then you structure and tailor your personal statement according to what they are looking for in that job, in terms of what we call competencies, the skill set that you're bringing on board. Then you have the employment part. So in the employment part, make sure, of course, you're writing the employer, your former employers, the period when you worked for those employers, and you can outline your job description, the roles that you're doing. Okay, I was a human resource manager. I was responsible for recruitment, responsible for performance management. I was a training officer. I delivered training. So that is a summary of your key responsibilities. But most importantly, employers are looking for the achievements. What did you achieve when you are the human resource manager? So you have to try to outline 1 or 2 achievements from the job, from the period when you are in that role. So just to give an example, as a customer service advisor at MTN, I improved the customer experience. During my time there, the customer base increased by 2%. Or during my time as a fundraising manager, I managed to mobilize funds of about, from this percent to this percent. I joined the organization when the organization had no funds, but because of my efforts, we were able to secure funding that was able to take us to the next level. So those achievements are very, very important in your CV under each layer of employment. So the employment experience, that's what the employer is looking for. A summary of your role and then your key achievements. And I think I've given you an indication of how you can nicely outline your achievements without being too wordy. So I enhanced the customer experience. I improved training, the training skills of the capacity of the students in a certain school. So those are examples of how you can summarize your achievements. If there is any gap in your CV in terms of employment, you should be able to explain it to the employer if they invite you for the interview, you should be able to explain why there's a gap in for example, if you left school in 2000, you finished your degree in 2000, or maybe in 2000, let's say in 2020, yeah? But 2021, you did not have a job, so there's a gap there. Then in 2022 is when maybe you now get a job and you start. So the employer will want to know, what were you doing in that period when you were not doing anything? So you should explain, I was not employed during this time, and be as honest as possible. I was not employed during this time, but I was busy. I was involved in Rotary. I was involved in my community. So the employer wants to see how proactive is this person. But that one, for you to explain it, it will be when you're invited for the interview. Right now, I was focusing on the CV and the layout. So I've already talked about the employment history. I've talked about the education. So even in the education, that's straightforward. You all know you have a section there where you outline your education background, the university or the schools you went to, and the course that you did or what qualification you attained while you were in that place. And then any memberships you might have. So these are now additional. Maybe I'm a member of Uganda Human Resource Managers Association. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Bunga. I am a member of this and that. So those now come at the bottom as additional in terms of additional things. Sometimes, depending on the role you're applying for, the employer will want to know certification, additional certification. For example, I may have a degree or a master's degree in human resources, but certain employers may want a specific certification. For example, certification in project management or certification in Chartered Institute of Professional Studies. So they will want that. So you have to include that as well where it is required. Of course, I talked about the referees. In most cases, you have 2 or 3 referees and not more than that. And you can always share them with the employer when they ask for it. Okay, so that was just a sample of the CV that I thought would be very important. Because I've noticed that many people, when you look at their CV, it's haphazard, and that's where the first impression starts from. It is from your CV. So if the CV is not eye-catching, you're competing with so many applicants, the employer is going to throw your CV aside, and they'll focus on those who have managed to give them something that looks good. Okay, so where is my presentation? Okay. So now you've seen the job that you want, you now want to apply for it. So you've updated your CV. Make sure your CV is always updated. Many people go for their interview, they send applications without updating the CV. So always make sure every time you gain new skills and experiences, go and update your CV. Have the most updated copy in your file or in your database. For me, I use the computer, so I'm always updating and I save them accordingly. Sometimes I say this one was October, because each job I apply for, I have to go and look at my CV, look at the skill set which the employer wants, and then I edit my CV according to what the employer is looking for in the job I'm applying for. So you cannot use the same CV for every role you're applying for. So that's one mistake that most of us make. We send the same CV to different employers, and many times we don't even go to edit the information. You may find, so that is one thing you need to focus on. Now, so you are now applying for the job. Make sure you have a cover letter. So a cover letter should have a summary of yourself as well. It's like a letter you apply, an application letter. My name is Anne, I have this background in this and that. These are the skill set I'm bringing. I've seen this advert here and I'm interested. You don't have to make it so long. It can just be brief, but it shows your interest in the job that you're applying for. Always make sure your phone number and your names are correctly written. And even the job you're applying for is up to date. Because we copy and paste so much. So you find that someone is applying for customer service role, but they're using the cover letter for a finance officer role, which they use. So automatically that disqualifies you from the role. When the recruiter sees those mistakes, they'll just put your CV on the side. So always make sure you go to the cover letter and update it. I've fallen culprit to this as well myself. So your cover letter should have the date of the application, because most jobs are time limited. They give you time frame for when the application is valid for. So have the date on, because if they say the deadline is today, and now they do not know when you even submitted your application, that becomes already a reason for them to want to put your CV aside. So have your name, like I said, your email, your contacts, the role you're applying for, outline it well. I've already talked about the things you should put in there. And then attach the CV to the cover letter. If they have asked for additional certificates, like all your certificates, most of us will put all our certificates, even from nursery. That's not really, that's not necessary. Look at the job they have advertised. If it's a project officer role, look for CVs that have things to do with certificates that you have that have project officer I have a certificate in project officer, I mean project management. Those are the ones you should attach. If it is customer service role, you're going to work in a restaurant, maybe they want someone with customer service background, look for the certificates where you have customer service, and those are the ones you should attach. And make sure that when you attach those documents, for example, most cases these days, you will apply through email. If possible, can you scan them and put them in one attachment? So go to a scan, or those shops where you can scan, then scan all your documents that you want to send in one attachment. So you can have your certificates in one attachment, the CV and the cover letter is in one page. And so you basically have not more than 2 attachments that you're sending to the employer, because there's nothing as annoying as you are trying to download so many documents of one applicant, and yet you have 1,000 applicants that apply for one job. So that is one thing I've always wanted to share with young people. Try to make sure your attachments are as few as possible, and make sure that the subject, the job you're applying for is put in the subject matter of the email. So we normally, as employers, we receive applications with nothing in the subject. Someone is not telling you what job they're applying for. Remember, as human resources department, most likely you're handling applications for 5 or 6 or 7 different jobs at one point. So if someone has not written one job, so that means the recruiter is just going to put you as a side, because it's time wasting. They don't have time to go and look for what job it is. So it must be very clear. Application for project management role, application for finance management role, application for this. So this should be in the subject matter. I've already talked about don't attach too many files, and summarize your CV. Let it not be 5 pages. Some people think that if the CV is so long, it shows how experienced you are. That is not true. Employers do not have time to look for at so many pages of your CV. They find that time wasting. So they look for straight bullet point kind of, so try to summarize your CV and make it should have the information, but shouldn't be too long. I've already talked about, so you have sent your CV, the employer has got it, and now you've made it on the short list. Because the things that will make you go on the short list is how you've packaged your experience in the CV that I've already talked about. So in your CV, you're writing, these were the roles I held, and these were my achievements. And that is why when the employer looks at the CV, they look at your roles and your achievements and the role they have advertised and say, we think this person, we should invite them over and we have a chat with them. They might be what we are looking for. So it is your CV that gets you to the shortlist. All right, so the interview date has arrived. You've been invited and you arrive, you know how it is. You arrive at the interview venue, you're very nervous. You don't have to be nervous. Always remember those are people like yourself, but it helps you if you're well prepared. So make sure you've done enough research about the organization. Imagine some people come to the organization and they have never heard about the organization. And so at the interview, or tell us, what do you know about Light Empowerment Foundation? And the person has no clue and they'll calmly tell you they don't know. Already, those are marks gone for you. You didn't do any research at all. Go to the internet, look at what projects those people are doing, what is their business about, have an idea. You may not have everything, but have an idea. Oh, you're Light Empowerment Foundation, I went to your website, you're in the area of health, you're in the area of education, you're in the area of this and that. So that already shows you've done some research. Now, be presentable. Presentable for the role you're applying for. If you're an engineer, you're applying for an engineer role, the recruiter does not expect you to appear in a suit because they know the engineer has to go and climb, trees and all that. So they don't expect you to appear in a suit, but they expect you to be smart. So look at the role you're applying for and the dress code. Sometimes you can do some research and find out, hey, ask the people who work there, what's the dress code? So if it is not official, like a business suit, then they'll expect you to be casually smart, but nevertheless, be presentable. So we've seen people arriving, they're not presentable, they have funny sweaters and all that. Just make sure if it is smart casual, you're smart enough. If it is a manager role, it's good if you appear there in a suit. So dress for the role, arrive in time. But if you don't arrive in time and for some reason you're running late, try to call the recruiter and explain to them that you're running late. And even if you can't attend the interview for some reason, assuming you receive the invitation, but the date or on the date of the interview, you realize you can't make it, inform the recruiter and ask them to adjust for your case. I have been one of those people who have always adjusted and made sure that the person attends when they're most comfortable. So always get in touch with them and ask them if they can adjust. If not, let them know why you cannot attend the interview. If you're pulling out, it's also fine. You can pull out, but let them know why you're pulling out, especially if you've already been invited. So be confident, be on time, you're confident. Don't arrive too early. We've seen people who arrive, the interview is for midday, but you're there by 7 a.m. Then you're thirsty, you're hungry, and people are busy. So just at least 45 to 30 minutes before is okay. 1 hour to 30 minutes is all right. Don't also arrive just too close. But I've already explained if you're late, talk to them and explain why you're late, traffic jam and all that. All right. So you walk into the interview room, the panelists are all looking at you. They all look intimidating. Wait to be shown where to sit. They'll direct you where to sit. And sit and be comfortable. You know, your body posture, smile, you know, if you can. And do not let your hands move. Some people come, they are with a pen, they are doing this and that. That distracts the panelist. So just be calm, try to calm yourself, be confident, but not cocky. Don't be overconfident. It's okay not to know. If you don't know anything, say, oh, I don't know that, but I'm a very fast learner. That's how I'd address it. If they ask me, have you ever managed a project before? I may say, I haven't managed a project before. However, I have a degree in this and this, so I have a certificate in project management, and I've done some roles in my team, in my community that have given me that experience. So you have to turn that. So there's that question they always ask you. The first question they ask you, tell us about yourself. Now, what the recruiter is looking at is a summary of your background, but that is aligned to the job you're applying for. So just to give an example, you've applied for a customer service role as a customer service officer, maybe in MTN Uganda. So they now they ask you to talk about yourself. So tell them what you're doing right now. My name is Anne. I have a certificate in this. I have a degree in this. Currently, I'm working as a customer service staff at Bunga ABCD. So you're giving a summary of your experience in line with the job you're applying for. Talk about what other roles you've done and how you think they have given you skills and prepared you for the role you're applying for right now, the job for you which you're attending that interview. So that question, tell us about yourself, is that it doesn't mean you tell them, oh, I'm married with 2 children and we live in Kanyanya. No. It's in line with the job you're applying for. So you don't have to go to even your nursery school where you went, then the primary, and then all that. Not necessary. Summarize everything in a few words. And it's from your explanation, it's from your introduction that the recruiters will now start asking you, oh, so you said you worked in a supermarket in Bunga and you interacted. What are the challenges you faced there? So they will now bring those questions from your introduction. All right. So sometimes they will ask you, can you tell us what are your strengths? They may even ask you, what are your weaknesses? So what the employer wants to see is your self-awareness, your level of self-awareness. But when you answer that question, well, what is your weakness? Use it in such a way that you bring it out as a strength. For example, I may say, oh, I'm a workaholic. Workaholic, some people think it's good, but it's actually a weakness. I'm a workaholic, but how I try to manage it is that I try to prioritize. So you see, you're bringing out a weakness, but you're spinning it in a positive way. About your strength, the strength they want you to bring out in line with the role you're doing. I'm a people person. If it's a customer service role, I'm a people person, I'm a team player, I have good communication skills. So you're bringing those strengths in line with the job you've applied for. In most interviews, they will ask you, tell us about a time when you did this. So you've said you were a customer service, you worked in a supermarket. Can you tell us of a time when you faced a challenging scenario with a customer? So those are competency-based questions. I think I'm being told that my time is up. So how you answer those questions is just to say, you give a specific scenario and how you handled it. Tell us how, when you worked with a difficult colleague. So they want you to bring a specific scenario. There's a time when I worked with a difficult colleague, and this was the scenario. We had a project, the colleague was not cooperating, but I talked to my manager, I talked to the colleague, I explained to them the importance of them cooperating with me, and at the end of it all, we're able to achieve the goal. So those are some kind of competency-based questions they will always ask. At the end of the interview, I'm thinking they will always ask you to ask a question. Do you have any question for us? Most people will say, oh, I don't have. Try to be a bit proactive. You've done your research. Okay, may I know when you expect me to start? Ask something, even if you don't have, say, may I know when you expect the successful candidate to start? So don't interview the panel and also start interviewing them, but you can ask a few questions. I'm summarizing. I think I focused a lot on that part of the interview, and I've seen Jane's hand is up. Probably, Jane, are you telling me my time is up?
Yes, it was just a kind reminder.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm on the last slide now. Yeah. So just a few additional tips which will come. You'll not always, we can't go through everything in this 25 minutes. That's why I had to just pick out key things for you. But like I said, be yourself, be honest. If the employer asks you, why did you leave the former, the former place where you were working? If possible, be honest, because the employer will always find out. If you were fired, you may have to tell them how you left. You were dismissed. If they ask you, I was dismissed from that place because of so and so. Most employers really nowadays are not so biased. They may not let your previous experiences, but then they want to know how honest you can be. So they want to see your values. What are your values? And your values obviously should be aligned to the organization values. I know your values are your customer service, you love customer, you focus on your customers. And personally, I have very good customer service skills. I have attention to detail. I am very committed, I'm reliable. So those are some of the things you talk about. I've said, most important for youth of today, find a way of gaining some experience. I know the youth are always saying, oh, they're only picking people experience. How will we get experiences? To be honest, you'll get experiences by participating in your community, by being like what you're doing now in Rotary. There's a project, lead the project, mobilize, coordinate, collect funds, fundraise. So all those things give you experience, which you can put on your CV and say, I have experience. Work in your church, get something in your community that you can do. If it's your own business, also that gives you experience. So gain some experience in your community, which is what you put on your CV. Volunteer somewhere. You may not always be paid for everything you're doing, but look at that as a way of gaining experience to add on your CV. Add relevant certificates. See, if you want to become a manager, I had CMP talk about a leadership training that is coming. Go and do that training. Get those certificates. Add to what you already have. The degree you have may not be enough. They taught you biology and chemistry. They never taught you about leadership skills. You're going to learn these leadership skills by adding on relevant certificates and diplomas. So go back to school, invest that time and resources to get those additional certificates, which the employer will find useful when you join. But don't spend all your time studying. We have one individual who had so many certificates and diplomas that the employer was asking, when does he get time for his family? So you see, you have to balance. So you have time to study, have time to practice what you're studying, and it has to be a balance. Choose your referees carefully. If you're going to put your referees there and they're going to talk bad about you to the employer, it doesn't add you. So only give referrals you think will give you something. Normally they'll want a referral from your either school where you're working, a lecturer, from your community, maybe a pastor, a priest, or LC if you've never had any job, or your family friends, but people who know you in a certain capacity and they can talk about you in terms of your skills and experience. I've already talked about experience. Get as much experience as you can so that when you go for that job, you have something to talk about the experience you're bringing on board to the employer. I think that is a summary of it all. I tried to put everything in those few minutes, but I hope I've addressed some of your things you've always wondered about. Yeah, thank you. And I think this is a time when if you have questions or you want me to ask something specifically, you can ask.
Thank you so much, Anne. This has been a very, very informative session. I actually had a question and you answered it in your last slide. I was going to ask what happens to people who have just left school but have no experience, but the job requires someone to have experience of 3 years, but you are able to answer. I thank you for that. Nice session. So do we have any questions? If you have questions from people online, please raise your hand and I'll pick you. Do you have any questions from people here? As the questions come in, allow me recognize the presence of CMP Samuel Majega from our mother club and other CMPs. I see some have left, but we've had quite a number of CMPs today. Thank you all for joining us. So do you have questions? Do you have questions here?
Yeah, thank you so much, our guest speaker for today. Please talk about the bosses who employ most of the ladies. We should take advantage of them.
And I don't need to answer.
Yeah, he's talking about what we call carpet interviews, right? We call them carpet interviews, and obviously any employer that does that is not professional at all. An employer should never ask you for anything, whether money or job in exchange of your body for your body, or going out with them for dinner or whatever. So those are very unprofessional employers. And if it is the country director, because if it is a country director, it means you have nowhere to report that person. You can report them to the Ministry of Gender and Labor. Hopefully you have evidence of what they're asking you to do that is out very unprofessional. If it is a manager, then if it's a manager, you can now talk to the human resources manager for that organization. They should be able to listen to you and address that, because sexual harassment is a very, very big offense. It's actually if you have that, if they find out that you are harassing staff and even employees or potential employees, it is a dismissible offense. So you can report that to the HR manager, or if you can't, if it's the HR manager who is doing that, then report to the country director. So there'll always be a reporting structure where you can report that. For the young girls, you have to know your value. I know most people will say, okay, I didn't have a job, I had to do this. You don't have to do anything. Just get experience. It might be hard, but a time will come, you'll apply so many jobs and you'll not get, but eventually one day you will get. So you have to be patient and just keep applying, don't give up. But you don't have to forego your values in exchange for that. Yeah, so that is a very unprofessional behavior. I hope I've answered that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you've answered it. Joanne, please go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to ask a question regarding that blank year where let's say you finished school, then you had a year where you didn't do anything really significant because of a harsh reality in your life, and you didn't do anything significant to build on your CV. How do you step up eventually when how do you recover from that? And yeah.
It's not wrong, it's not a crime not to have done anything during that time, but what I meant is that go through the CV and have a good idea of the periods when you are first before you go for it, before you send your application, go through your CV, see is there any missing information. And then when you apply and you're invited, normally the employer has the CV with them and you're there, probably you don't have your CV. You're just trying to recall everything off head. So you may skip an area and then they will ask you and say, you said from 2007 to 2009 you were here, but and then you said from this time to this time you were here. So what happened during this period, right? They will ask you that. And you can say during that period I was not employed, I was at home. So it addresses that. So the issue is we know many people when they're fired from a job, they leave that area out. And normally the employer will find out and they will want, so if they find that you're not honest, that's where now the whole values thing start. They start, your issue of being someone they can trust start from there. So if it is especially organizations like the UN, if you were dismissed or you were fired from the job, you have to be open to them and tell them that during this time, this is what happened, and then I left the job or whatever. So it's all about being honesty. If you're lucky and they don't ask you, that is your lucky day. And then you don't have to lie about it. But depending on the organization you're applying, in the UN, they're very serious and they'll always do a thorough background check. So they'll go to your former employers and they'll find a lot of information. So if you're applying to those places like UN and they ask you, were you dismissed or what, just say, yes, I was dismissed. And if you're lucky, they invite you for the interview, they'll give you a chance to explain what happened. So they try to be very fair. Yeah, so that's how you answer that.
Thank you, Anne. There's a question in the chat. How do you answer when asked, how much should we pay you?
Okay, so the employer expects that you'll have done some basic research. To find out how much, Nowadays, best practice is that employers should actually they should be very clear with how much the position is paid, and they put it at least broad here. If in the developed world, they always put the salary in the job application, so you know I'm being paid 3 hours, £9 per hour. So when you apply, you already know. But in Uganda, I don't know why the employers hide salary like it's something, a very secret thing. It's because they have inequalities. They want to pay some people better and some people less, which is very wrong. As long as we are both qualified for the job, we should be paid the same. So there should be nothing of secrecy, but it happens there. So what I'm trying to say is that ideally you should have an idea of what that job, how much people are paid, at least a range. You may not have this specific amount, but you should have a range. Say, okay, I know the officers at BRAC maybe start from 500,000 as an indication. So when you go, they ask you, how much do you expect to be paid? You may say, I'll be comfortable with 600,000 because you know it's 500. So give them a higher figure, So I'll be comfortable with 600,000 or even 1 million. And then they say, oh, if you're very good, they'll ask you, would you negotiate? And then you say, yeah, if I go through, I can negotiate. Because if you negotiate downwards, you're still within the range you want. So it's a question nobody wants to answer, but it's really straightforward. Yeah. It's how much you think you're worth for that job to be. But you can do some research so you know a bit of the indicative figures.
Okay, thank you, Anne. One last question. You talked briefly about this in your presentation. Patricia is asking, how best can one go about the question, talk about yourself? Maybe if you can just answer this one briefly, since you had said something about it in your presentation.
Okay. So that question, the employer wants to know about your experience. Remember, they want to see, are you competent for the job? So what they want to see, do you have the skills that they're looking for? So that is what you need to demonstrate. So talk about yourself is a summary of your name. Of course, they already have your name. They even have your CV there. So they have everything. They just want to hear it from you, but in a summarized way. Depending on the job, I've seen some people taking even almost an hour explaining about themselves, or you will lose the recruiters at that point. So in most cases, bring those experiences. For example, if it is Anne and I've applied for a human resource manager role, okay? This is how I'll talk about myself. My name is Anne. I have a bachelor's degree in this. I have a master's in human resource management from Makerere University. I worked as a human resource manager at this NGO where I managed recruitment, where I was in charge of performance management. I was in charge of training and capacity development, and I also managed employee relations. Then before that, I worked with Red Cross where I did ABCD. And maybe before that, I also worked here. So while I worked here, this is what I was doing. So you're bringing that to the role you're recruiting. So you're bringing those experiences which are in line with the role you're applying for. So it is from those questions that now the employer says, oh, you said you worked with Light Empowerment Foundation as a project officer. Tell us, how you manage the situation like this? So it will be from that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anne. I think we have one last question in the audience. Victoria and Emmanuel.
Thank you, President. Mine is going to differ from the rest. Mine is not a question, but it's a remark. First and foremost, I would like to thank Anne for that very informative presentation. I'd like to thank her for accepting the invitation to come and present to the Rotaractors here and to Rotary in general. What I must say, Anne, that you've done a very good job, though the time has been very limited. And I also didn't do my job very well. I've been trying to interest you to join Rotary, but you've been, pushing me aside. But I'm sure very soon you'll come and join Rotary because you're a very resourceful person. You have a lot of resource that Rotary and humanity can benefit from you. And this is what Rotary is all about. When we invite guest speakers who have the knowledge of what they do, they come and impact and change the lives of others. So the Rotaractors here, which is different from Rotary. Rotary is general. Rotary, we have the senior people, but the Rotaractors are the youth between the age of 18 and 30. So, and this presentation was really something that touches on them directly. So, Anne, please always make time to if you're invited, to come and give us more presentation. And thank you so much. And please, I know there was a time there is a webinar that is going to take place soon, organized by Life, where you're a director. But I've shared with them in their WhatsApp group. But maybe later you can also send more information about that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. CMP Jen, just before I forget, and thank you, Emma. Just before I forget, normally the employer might ask you, why should we choose you? Why do you think you should be the one to get this job? Because you're 5 very good people. So that's another question that they ask. And you should be able to demonstrate what is that extra thing that you bring on board. Because employers want people who are flexible, you're more flexible, people can follow through, because everyone can do the job, but there are people who put in that extra, they go the extra mile. So you can talk about how you can go an extra mile. You can talk about how you're very thorough, you have attention to detail. For example, if it's an accounting role, you say, I'm someone who has great attention to detail. And maybe give an example. In my former role, I was able to save the organization this amount of money because of how I paid attention to the reporting and everything. So you bring out that cutting edge. So that's how you answer that last question and tell us why you should choose you. And coming back to Emma's comments, yes, I'm a very, very busy lady, apparently. As Emma has told you, I'm a co-founder and a director of Light Empowerment Foundation, which is an NGO. It's a very young NGO. It's a family-based NGO. Like many of you, when we were growing up, we always wanted to give back to our community. We're like, oh, where we come from, there's no good health care system. The dropout rate is so high. Our children are not going to school. We need to do something for our community back home. So eventually we started to establish that NGO. And it so happened that I have the experience of working in an NGO. So I kind of take the lead in writing the project, writing the structure and everything. I've been getting volunteers who've been working with us, directing them, and just making sure we are doing something. Some of you have seen Light Empowerment on social media. We try to engage social media a lot, and I do it all the way from here. It's not easy, especially when it comes to fundraising. I've had, I really get inspired by Rotary because I see the way you organize your projects, you contribute, you contribute to for your programs to have impact. And it's the same thing we face as a charity. You want to do so many things in the community, but where do you get the funds from? The Ugandans, we found the people, not only Ugandans, but people generally, they'll contribute to weddings, they'll contribute to other things, but ask them to contribute to a charitable cause. Last year, we were fundraising for some young lady who was burned by acid. She comes from Chotera. She was burned by acid. She didn't have money to go to the hospital. She didn't have a mobile phone. There was no way people could contact her because they get psychosocial support from their friends who have also been burnt by acid. So through one of our partners who is leading that cause for Acid Foundation, Acid, women, raising awareness, we were able to do a small fundraising for her through social media, and we bought for her a phone. So she now has a phone. Recently, I'm told she's now coming to Kampala and she'll be assessed by the hospital so she can get plastic surgery. And I've committed that I'll contribute towards her, welfare while she's in Kampala and everything. So we discovered that people will not contribute to charity, but charity is not about giving a lot of money. It's about 2 people giving 5,000, 10 people. You see, here in Europe, the white people, they don't have money. The way people think that, oh, white people have money, they don't. But the little they have, the 2,000 they get, they'll give you 500 and they'll stay with 1,500. And that is how all these charitable organizations here collect money. They go to the public and the public give in supermarkets. When you shop, you leave 1 shilling there, another leaves 2, another leaves 4. So that 1 by 1 makes a bundle. So through some of the things we're trying to do, we're trying to change the mindset of Ugandans to say, okay, you can contribute whatever you have. You don't have to give so much to charity. But even us who are owners of charity, we have to be accountable. People have given to us and we've not used it well. So that's why maybe they don't want to give anymore. So yeah, we've done so many programs. We are doing many projects. It's kept me busy, but because we have teams coming on board, I believe with time, I'll have more time now to be more involved in the community, in Rotary and everything, since there's a team we are setting up. There's a program that Emma talks about. We've organized this also to build leadership capacity. We are partners in the struggle with Rotary. So we are partners. What you're doing, we're also doing it in another way, but we are achieving the same goal. So we have a webinar where we aim to build capacity of youth, not youth, but you can be an old man, but you don't have leadership skills. So we are going to build capacity of people who feel they want to do, maybe you want to lead a small community-based project, you don't know how to advocate, you don't know how to collaborate, you want to look for partners, you're wondering, how do I do it? You're wondering, okay, I have my small organization, how do I build it to the next level? So it is the Plan Uganda of tomorrow, it is the World Vision of tomorrow. So we are going to build capacity of such people. So we have organized that webinar. It's for the 30th of October, starting 2 p.m. Uganda time. We encourage you to come and participate. Learning never ends. Come and learn from best in class. We've put together also very knowledgeable facilitators, people who have actually done things. They have fundraised, they have managed projects, they have led somewhere, so you can learn from them. and we'll give certificates, not participants, but certificates at the end of the event. So you can have a certificate to add to your CV when you attend our webinar. Thank you. And I hope I'll be more engaged. When I get time, I will always be engaged with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anne. I apologize. We've gone way beyond our time. But please, I'm going to request for just 5 minutes for us to conclude. So I'm going to invite our guest, Martin. He was looking forward to today's session so much that he told me he'll give the vote of thanks. So Martin, please take it on.
On behalf of Rotaract Club of Bunga, I would like to extend my our sincere appreciation to you, Anne, for dedicating this time to us. This was a much needed session. Especially at a time where jobs. Personally, tell us about yourself. It's something that very many people fail to answer, and it throws them off the interview. So thank you for dedicating your time to share your wisdom, insight, and experience. Thank you very much.
I'm very honored. Thank you so much. I'm really honored to to speak to you. I'm so honored, yeah.
Thank you, Anne. We have a small. Let me clarify before. So Anne, we have a small token of appreciation. The Fenebade group that organized this fellowship today has something they want to give you. But we are going to give it to Rotarian Emmanuel. We are very sure he'll be able to deliver it. I'm going to ensure they take pictures so that he can share with you and you see how it looks like. But Grace is going to read for us what is on the certificate that is given you.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, this is a certificate of appreciation. Certificate of appreciation. This certificate is proudly presented to Miss Anne Kazungu Okwera in appreciation of the enlightening presentation on how to make a wow impression at interviews at the Rotaract Club of Bunga Fellowship held both physically at PVC Heights Restaurant, Gaba, and online via Zoom on October 21st, 2021. Thank you very much. Okay.
Wait, can you please stand up for the certificate giving ceremony? Emmanuel is representing Anne. I'm going to do a small video for Anne, but they're going to take pictures as well. But let me. Yeah, so I hope you can see that, Anne, that my light is not so good, but Emma is receiving a certificate and we are so privileged.
Thank you. I can see it.
Yes, so we've given the certificate to Emmanuel. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Emma, make sure I receive it in my inbox today, please.
Okay, so I see we have other CMPs who arrived late, but because of time, please remain standing. We have the final toast, and then we can have a chat with them after. So I'm going to invite CMP Stroke to give us the final toast.
Thank you, Madam President. CMP Stroke, as earlier said, a proud Rotaractor and a suffering Rotarian. I know Laila is Rotarian is laughing at us for the wonderful fellowship I've had, full of knowledge and wisdom, empowering and inspirational. I propose a toast to Rotary International.
Thank you, Sir Shoki. Please give me 1 minute. You can sit. I forgot one very crucial thing that Sergeant is going to do in just.
In Sergeant collection, we managed to raise 20,000.
For yourself.
Very much visited us. First, our mother club sent us representatives. Thank you so much, Rotary Club of Bunga. We have the Rotary Club of Kabalagala, the Pancakes. We have the Rotary Club of Kololo, Rotary Club of Kololo, Rotary Club of Cape Munyonyo, Rotary Club of Wachiso District Information, Wachiso Central, sorry, Information, Rotary Club of Ruwaga, Rotary Club of Weyogere Nambole. We have Rotary Club of Chambogo University of Shenyi, Rotary Club of Mutesa Wandera University Masaka, Rotary Club of Kampala Wandegea. We have Rotary Club of Webaja, Rotary Club of Clark International University, with the CMP present, President Priscilla. Thank you so much for turning up. We have the Rotary Club of Sanji. President. Still, I thank the different CMPs who visited us. You know, since Bunga, we are so hospitable. People like visiting us. CMP Shoki witnessed that. That's why you even feel like joining Bunga and you leave the pancakes. Today's attendance, the body groups. Those who managed to register. So I just have to recount, yeah. But I'll give you the statistics. Before I hand over, President, allow me to remind the members. But next time, pin zibanja. Abata ina pin, nga you were chattered. Still, President, before I hand over, allow me to recognize some visitors here. We have a lady seated near Rotarian Emma. She's Spacey Nakate. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us for today. We normally sit here from 5:30 p.m. It is strictly an hour. President Shoki, but they will have to give you more time.
Thank you, everyone. I just want to conclude with reading Anne's message. Anne has put a message in that chat. She says, thank you, everyone, for the great work you're doing. Thank you for the certificate. She's really honored. And she promises to always support Rotary Club of Bunga, where she can, and maybe start one baby in London with God's grace. She continues to thank Rotarian Emma for inviting her. We are glad to have you, Anne. we are going to invite you again very soon. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Have a great evening and bye.